Okay. So here we are, round two.
Take my moderation glasses off.
Here we are, round two, fade to bracket. I have myself, Mr. Greg Jones, Zach Ulrich, and Timothy. All right, so we find ourselves down to, I believe, 18 matchups. 18 or 16, I can't do math, but it's close to that number. We differed on 5 or 6 of the selections, so we'll pick those out as we go through and highlight those. Pictured right now, we have the round two, some kind of bracket, and we'll get started. So here we are on round two. I am the table! And James Hetfield is now actually making tables. I don't know if you saw that, so I included that picture in the graphic because he literally is the table. All right, our first matchup is Enter Sandman versus Through the Never, 2 Black Album tracks. Zach, what do you think?
I'm sticking with Sandman. It's that song whether you like, whether you're one of the type that lean towards the first 4 albums only, or you're in the all-inclusive category. There's no doubt that the Black Album, but specifically Sandman, was that song off that album which really exposed Metallica to an entirely new population of the earth. So I think for that reason, you kind of have to give the respect factor to Sandman, so I'm going with that.
And yeah, I'll echo that. When we play that song live, everybody gets pumped and into it, for better or for worse. And we like Metallica. At least we don't end our night on that song. We usually do a encore, so at least get to throw a couple more in there. And I appreciate that Metallica does that too. Like you said, that was a song that kind of brought Metallica to the masses, and so I believe it deserves to win in this matchup.
I liked on that on the Black Album tour, they opened with it. That's brilliant.
That's really good.
Yeah, they got it out of the way. They're like, here you go. Here's the song here's the song a lot of you came for. Now let's, get down to it. Also, Sandman, you don't have Metallica at the level they are without Sandman. So I'm going to go with that.
Yeah, with this one, it's a tough one amongst many that we had tonight. I lean towards Through the Never on this one, and I don't have anything bad to really say about Enter Sandman. It's an important song, at least as far as me getting into Metallica, as was the case with millions of others. Through the Never, I think might be my favorite song on the Black Album, if not Enter Sandman. That's why it was kind of a tough choice for me. But it's got this kind of creepy vibe to it that you don't see in a whole lot of other Metallica songs, not usually as a staple necessarily, and that's kind of one of the few ones and the one that they managed to work on to this album. So didn't really expect this song to get terribly far, but at least compared to Sandman. But I mean, if I'm choosing which ones I like better, it is Through the Never.
So 3-1, Sandman wins. All right, so the next matchup is Leper Messiah versus Blackened. Before we get started, in the official some kind of bracket, Whiplash actually beat out Leper Messiah. Kind of an interesting matchup if it were Whiplash versus Blackened, but we can come back to that later.
Yeah, that was one of the ones where we unanimously voted for Leper Messiah.
Yeah, was anybody surprised by that? That like all of us chose Leper over Whiplash?
I was.
Okay, so was I.
Tim, do you have the breakdown of who picked Whiplash versus Leper in the actual poll?
For the official one, it's 57% Whiplash, 43 Leper Messiah. So
I would expect it to be a little closer, but
yeah, so it was pretty close. But I mean, it doesn't match ours. So maybe we should dust off Whiplash.
Maybe.
Well, I guess I'll start with our polling. as much as I love Leper Messiah, I really enjoy playing it. It doesn't even come as a close second to Blacken. So I'm going with Blacken.
That's pretty much how I feel too. I think, Lepers, there's not a bad song on Master of Puppets, and this is definitely a deep cut that I enjoy a lot. But up against Blacken's, just one of the great opening ragers of a Metallica album, it's not very close to me either, so my vote goes to Blacken's.
I too am going to pick Blacken. Surprise, surprise. Greg, you brought up about being an opening rager. I mean, even like during the Saint Anger tour, they opened with Blacken a lot. So, I mean, to me, that is what makes Metallica that song. I love it. I'm going to pick Blacken.
And of course, they played Blacken for the Saint Anger tour because they had to play at least one song that people liked.
Yep.
No.
They played under Sandman too.
This is
which ironically will be the next matchup, I think. So
we've already decided it's Blackened. I don't want to let Leper get out of this round without a vote. But we've already had a unanimous Leper Messiah versus Whiplash, a unanimous Blackened versus The God That Failed. This one's so difficult for me. I'm staring at the bracket. That's why I'm looking over here. I'm going to assume everyone wanted to give Leper Messiah 1/3 of a vote. Or I guess 1/4 of a vote.
Blacken wins. Yeah, I mean, I hate knocking out Leper this early, but I wish
Gotta be done.
You could pick some of the, I definitely not have cut it at this point, but.
Yeah, this is a part where we're just going to have to get into the weeds a lot more and pick apart songs in order to figure out from this point forward which one we like. Whereas, I don't know about anyone else, that first round, I didn't really put a whole lot of thought into them because I didn't need to. But this is an example of things definitely getting competition getting stiffer. So.
It's getting real, is what you're saying.
It's like punching children.
Exactly. That's exactly what it's right.
I don't want to punch either of these children.
We're up against it's Seek versus the Eye of the Beholder. The official some kind of bracket selected The Day That Never Comes instead of Eye of the Beholder.
Yeah, that surprised me.
Yes.
That one in particular was one of the closer ones. That Day That Never Comes got 52%. Eye of the Beholder got 48%. So, and I think we had a similar... we had a hard time deciding too.
With the stuff that got chosen, like the choices that the official bracket got that differed from ours, this is kind of an example I saw of a pattern where the singles from more recent albums were beating out like deeper cuts from older ones. Like there's at least a couple more examples of that on the official bracket. I don't have them with me right now.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to actually have a couple of those. Like later on, I guess Hardwired beat out Holier Than Thou.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think didn't All Nightmare Long win something also, and that was a tough one for us anyway. So
yeah, that was a 2x2 on that one for us.
Right.
All right, so I'm going to pick Seek and Destroy. Kind of going with what I said in the last round, how it makes me feel playing it live, crowd energy. Yes, it's a very long song, but it's fun to play, and just that feedback that we get from the crowd wins it for me. We haven't played Eye of the Beholder live, so for all we know, it could be this amazing feedback song that we never even knew existed. So I guess we have to try it. But I'm going to pick Seek and Destroy.
I feel like I need to right a wrong because I did not vote for Seek and Destroy in the last round. And so this time I'm going to vote for Seek and Destroy over Eye of the Beholder. I may like Eye of the Beholder more, but standing on a stage, playing Seek and Destroy is an experience in a good way. So,
Thanks.
I like that time we did Bleeding Me. Only Zach remembers.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, my ears were bleeding. My eyes were bleeding.
So, Seek and Destroy.
My vote went for Seek and Destroy also. I don't really have much of a good explanation for that other than it's definitely, I mean, it's the standout track, or at least one of the standout tracks for me on the first album, the first time I heard it, and clearly one that's great for crowd participation. Eye of the Beholder definitely has its moments. It's not a song I dislike. I think it's not one of the stronger songs of that era necessarily. So, this choice was fairly easy for me, Seek and Destroy.
Yeah. And for me, it was easy also, Seek and Destroy, and Mark, to a lot of what you said before, how I get energized playing it just for what the song is and the lyrics behind it, the memories that the song, causes me to kind of reflect on. And then, Tim, to your point, the reaction you get on stage, I think you said it best. It is an experience that I don't think even though we don't know what the reaction would be with Eye of the Beholder, I seriously doubt it would be the same experience and the same reaction we get out of Seek. So I'm going with Seek.
So Seek and Destroy wins unanimously. I do have to say that just thinking through this, maybe if we played Eye of the Beholder in West Virginia, just think about it. Seek and Destroy did not get the feedback in West Virginia, but maybe we have to do the opposite. Just think about it. Put that in there.
Do an opposites show.
Yeah, exactly. Next matchup is the Unforgiven versus King Nothing.
So that Unforgiven came out of Unforgiven versus Spit Out the Bone. And we had to do a tiebreaker on that one. The official vote was 75-25 for Unforgiven. So people clearly like the Unforgiven way more than they do Spit Out the Bone. We like Spit Out the Bone more than the average person, apparently.
Yeah, I was actually kind of, now knowing what the split was, that actually kind of surprises me.
Yeah, same here.
I'm not surprised with the overall answer, but that large of a margin actually surprised me, because to me, Spit Out the Bone was kind of Metallica's back. Hard hitting, fast, energized, explosive. Whereas Unforgiven is an incredible song, but for the thrash heads, it's not Unforgiven. So
no, it is not.
Yeah, so I'm kind of surprised by the split.
Our King Nothing versus Frantic vote came out pretty in line with the official results as well. 3-1 versus 70-30.
I'm going to go with the Unforgiven, mainly because of the version that we play and the reaction we get to it. Although King Nothing has, an incredible response also. But to me, Unforgiven's just, I think back to what Greg had said, for some reason, it's just a really fun song to play. It's not difficult, but sometimes those are the ones that you can sink into even better and hit the accents and things like that. So I'm going with Unforgiven.
So King Nothing, when I was learning the bass line for it, not the obvious part, but the rest of it, I have found at least 3 versions where Jason played it differently every time. It's kind of annoying. So, I got that floating around in my head, but I'm going to give it to the Unforgiven because I think it has one of the best solos. It's a great build. It starts with the clean part, and then it just goes into this amazing hugeness.
Yeah,
So,
I mean,
Unforgiven.
I get goosebumps when it kicks in. That something about that soul is just so emotional to me. That's why I'm picking Unforgiven as well. You kind of stole my thunder there. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Speaking of solos, Greg.
That was a vote for it, right? Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I vote Unforgiven.
Yeah. And also, and it was basically for the reasons you guys mentioned. King Nothing. It is one of the songs from Load that I do like more. The Black Album was it was one of the last albums where Kirk really had some memorable leads that kind of carried the song forward, which became kind of one of the hallmarks of them from a very early point. And they kind of, on Load, they kind of abandoned that concept completely. So that makes it a deal breaker. But it's just kind of, the song overall, like, has way more of a kind of a sense of movement and dynamics, where King Nothing kind of suffers from what a lot of their songs at the time do, where it's just kind of, it's just sonically flatlined in a way. It's kind of doesn't really go anywhere to the same degree. So yeah, I have strong vote for Unforgiven as well.
So it's you wins. Everybody picked Unforgiven.
So in the next round, we'll have unanimous Seek and Destroy versus unanimous Unforgiven.
That's going to be weird. And previously it will be 3-1 versus a 1-3. So that'll be funny. Enter Sandman versus Blacken. So that's going to be a doozy. All right. Next is 1 versus Hit the Lights.
I'll start. 1. The end.
Yeah. I believe last time when we had 1, it was up against Metal Militia, I think.
Correct.
And I think I said at the time something to the effect of, a lot of bands could have given us Metal Militia, but only Metallica could give us 1. Well, my answer is pretty much exactly the same right now. It's one more nondescript Kill 'Em All song up against 1. I could comment more on 1, but now I kind of was hoping it would advance to a later round, so I wouldn't have to do it right now. Well, because sooner or later I'm going to have to say something more about it, but not this time.
For me, it's 1. It's an anthem. It's iconic Metallica. It was the very first music video I ever saw, and it's what thrusted. I'll say the original Metallica. Obviously, there was a significant change in production value from the first album to Justice for All, but they were still very much the original structure of Metallica, although this album certainly much more progressive. But it's what thrusted them, thanks to MTV, into the mainstream visibility. So, we talked about how the Black Album really exposed them to the rest of the world. This song, and along with its music video, is what put them in the view of the world. So it's going to be very difficult for even later rounds, for me anyway, for this song to lose. It's got everything in it for the most part. So 1.
I don't have anything else to say. I'm going to pick 1. I mean, there's really nothing else to say. And kind of like what Greg was saying, I don't want to spill on my marbles, you know what I'm saying? So, next one. This is going to be an interesting matchup, because what I hope happens is it's 1 versus Sanitarium, because that's going to be a very interesting matchup. Not to make a spoiler alert there, but this is Sanitarium versus Holier Than Thou. So the people voted for Hardwire over Holier Than Thou, kind of like what Greg was saying earlier. A lot of those singles beat out the deeper tracks on earlier albums.
Yeah, that one was really close. It was 51% for Hardwired, 49% for Holier Than Thou.
Oh, wow.
We unanimously decided on Holier Than Thou.
Good matchup, though.
Yeah,
Definitely.
So I'll start. I'm going with Sanitarium. It's another of their anthems. It's I know that they've done shows without playing that song. They shouldn't. They should play it every show. We should play it every show. It's that introduction, clean guitar note. it's kind of like bells. When you hear that bells, well, I guess you're either thinking AC/DC or For Whom the Bell Tolls, but it's just iconic. I've watched our playbacks even, and as soon as those first notes are hit, you hear the audience, and you always hear somebody say, "Oh shit!" In excitement. So it's just awesome. Sanitarium.
It's usually Zach saying that, being picked up on the video. So
could be. Could be.
Yeah, I'm going with Sanitarium as well. This is not that hard of a matchup for me. I really like Holier and Thou. Nothing against it. Has some really good dynamics going on there. But as a whole, I think Sanitarium is a fantastic song.
Yeah, I too picked Sanitarium. Not really much to add except that it's one of the slow build songs that became a hallmark of Metallica in those years, and it's one of the important elements of a great Metallica album. Holier Than Thou, I like the song, but it's a little bit more of a buffer zone than kind of a centerpiece song. So Sanitarium.
Yeah, Sanitarium, along with One and Fade to Black, they're the track 4 Metallica formula. Clean intro, then clean verse, heavy chorus, and then go back to the clean verse, and then the outro's this, thrashing.
But that's heavy at the end.
Or heavy, or whatever. It's a great formula. Unforgiven, they flipped it. Heavy verse, quiet chorus, but still essentially the same formula. Yeah, so I can't argue with that. Sanitarium.
It's going to be awesome next week when we do One versus Sanitarium. Just saying.
I do not want to do the next round. That's a lot of children to punch.
Yeah. All right. Next matchup was For Whom the Bell Tolls and Disposable Heroes. I'll go first on this one. It's a tough matchup, but I'm thinking how I feel when I play the song, how I feel when I hear it. So when I first got into Metallica, it was with the song Fuel. So the next album after that was Garage Inc. and then S&M, So that was actually my first exposure to live Metallica. And even though they had the symphony, it added that extra layer, and it was just incredible. And thinking of just hearing For Whom the Bell Tolls on that album was incredible for me when I heard it the first time. That's like the second track right after Call of Cthulhu, when they started that first set of S&M. So I'm picking For Whom the Bell Tolls.
I am going to... this one's really tough, so I'm just going to pick a way to choose and then choose that way. And since Disposable Heroes is way longer than For Whom the Bell Tolls, I'm going to go with Disposable Heroes because it's more Metallica.
I like it.
So that's my vote, Disposable Heroes.
My vote is for Whom the Bell Tolls as well. This was another tough one. And Disposable Heroes, to be clear, is a fantastic song that I hate to try to vote out of this bracket. But For Whom the Bell Tolls, I call it my reintroduction to Metallica, because actually the first time I heard them, I liked them. It was in the Black Album years. I liked them, but it didn't really stick because I was a teenager preteen going through phases and stuff, and having ADD and ADHD and getting down with OPP. So,
Hip Hop Hooray!
So, a couple years later, I was watching the live performance, the live broadcasting actually at Woodstock '94. They played it, and this was one of those times where they were really hyping up the crowd with this song, and it was the first time I'd heard this song, and it's very clearly this is a song that's meant to be heard by Metallica in a big arena. It's just meant for that environment. Just hearing it, I can't hear it in any context now, even the studio version, without thinking, this is a band that was really meant to go do bigger things. It's one of the, like, Disposable Heroes. Like I said, I like that as well. I like it better when I hear a band just kind of covering it as a nice surprise, though. So I go for Whom the Bell Tolls.
So this one for me was extremely difficult. Almost to where I just want to say pass. They're for me, and I agree with all the points that the three of you have made. So I don't disagree with any of them. That's part of my challenge with this is they're both incredible songs for almost exactly opposite reasons. It's very challenging for me. So I kind of started looking at it from, okay, listening to it, they're both kind of the same for me as far as likability. So, all right, well, how do I view it from a playing perspective? Well, I love playing bells because I get to really focus on the accents. And Mark, you also put it in exactly the right spot in the set list where I can breathe. But at Disposable, I love the very intro where you're reminding me to slow down. So, man, this is really difficult. Really, really difficult. But I think I'm going to go, because it's not played often by anybody, to include Metallica, I'm going to go with Disposable. So, because I kind of already figured where we were going, I did reach out to our photographer for the input, and the tiebreaker is bells. But the first response to the question was, "Oh, damn." Then the answer was bells, and the quick comment after that, it's that first note talking about the bell.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Hard to argue that.
Right.
Yeah, hard to argue that.
For Whom the Bell Tolls, it is. So, we have Battery versus Orion.
No.
I'm going to go. But,
I don't want to vote on this one, okay?
I got to come up with a way to decide it. So I'm going to use the bass line. Once again, you cannot compete with the Orion bass line. And I don't even need to say what part, because you know what part. That part. So, and that's not even to mention the bass solo. So anyway, Orion, there I punched a kid.
So I'll punch the same kid with both fists. I'm guessing that
more like that.
I'm guessing that the crowd will probably lean towards Battery versus Orion, just because of the energy that's and the craziness that comes with Battery. But as a musician, and also just as kind of a connoisseur of what's involved in these songs, I also have to go with Orion. And it's also largely because of the bass parts. That middle, Tim, when you come in, or when Cliff did it originally with the dum 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 dum, that's when I go into a different place, and I'm in that different place all the way until the end of the bass solo. And for me, there is no other Metallica song that puts me in that place. So Orion for me.
Like I said, I don't want to make a choice on this one. I'm going to have to go with Battery on this one, because I think, they've got great thrash songs on every album up to this point, for sure, on this one. And it's kind of like, this song is one of the, like, kind of meat and potatoes thrash songs that Metallica, they probably wanted to try to make before then, articulate it. And, this is like one of the things I think of as default Metallica in their prime. Credit where credit is due. Orion's fantastic song. I can't really say anything else that you guys haven't said about it. But yeah, I'd go with Battery on this one.
So, of this list of this round 2, this is the hardest choice for me. Coming into this, when I typed this up, I actually had picked Battery. But hearing what you guys are saying about Orion, I mean, it's that middle part with when the guitars come in with that bend. That is the best. Like something about that bend, that Can you do the harmony of that right now, Greg? Yeah. Anyway, there you go. Oh man,
I think that was F sharp. I'm not sure.
So, and I think when I first heard the Master of Puppets album, starting with Battery, it's like, oh my God, this is going to be an amazing album. When that album opened up with Battery, thinking of them playing it live, thinking of us playing it live, the energy, I usually go towards these more thrashier songs. And because, I feel like if I would pick Battery, though, it'd be like cheating because I'm forcing T to pick. You know what I mean? I'm
very interested to know what T would pick anyway. So you might as well ask her however Mark votes.
Jeez, guys. I'm going to have to pick Battery just because I have more history with that song. That's the only reason I've always liked Orion, but I never really loved it until I played it with Fade to Black.
I think that's a good decision because I feel like the vote should reflect how difficult this decision is.
What did T pick?
Orion.
Really? Wow.
That's really.
What do you guys think the crowd's going to pick?
Battery.
I think so too.
Yeah, Battery.
I'm interested to see that matchup. That'll be interesting. Okay.